Welcome to episode 23 of our Explainer. Look, we have all been there. You're working with Claude, making amazing progress, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, it just flat out refuses your prompt. It's incredibly frustrating, right? Well, today, we're going to flip that entirely. We're shifting your mindset from being frustrated over these AI limits to gaining absolute mastery over Claude's safety framework. We are literally unpacking the rulebook today to understand exactly how this intelligence operates and why it makes the decisions it does. So to actually understand why Claude hits the brakes, we've got to look under the hood. It all comes down to constitutional AI. Think of it as this hidden self-governance mechanism that dictates every single interaction to ensure long-term reliability. Instead of just relying on an army of human contractors to play whack-a-mole with bad outputs, the system actually evaluates its own responses against a predefined set of principles. That's its constitution. So Claude isn't just trying to annoy you when it blocks a response. It is continuously scoring its potential answers against a really strict constitution designed to keep things safe, productive, and honestly trustworthy.
Okay, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll be decoding refusals, figuring out how to work within those limits, exploring the safety-utility balance, checking out a real-world researcher story, and then wrapping up with something we call the common discipline.
Let's dive right into our first topic, decoding Claude's refusals.
When you hit one of these walls, your reaction really dictates your success. There's the weak approach, which is just throwing your hands up and saying, ugh, the AI is blocking me, or it's way too restrictive. That mindset gets you absolutely nowhere because you're just complaining about the boundary instead of looking for a solution. But the strong approach? That's when you recognize, okay, Claude has specific safety categories it absolutely has to follow. This mindset actively tries to figure out the system's underlying logic. And honestly, that's your very first step to getting around the obstacle. Because here's the thing, Claude's refusals aren't just random. They specifically target three main areas. First up, high harm risk. These are requests that could cause direct physical or severe psychological harm. Second is deliberate misinformation, so things like intentional deception or propaganda. And third, privacy violations, which means gathering or spreading someone's personal data without their consent. If your prompt gets rejected, it is almost certainly running headfirst into one of those three walls. So how do we navigate them? That brings us perfectly to our next section, how to actually work within those limits. We've all done it. You get a refusal, so you just hit enter and repeat the exact same prompt, hoping for a different result. That is a weak strategy. It is a complete waste of your time because the AI's constitution doesn't magically change just because you ask a second time. The strong approach means you have to adapt. You figure out exactly why the Constitution pushed back, and then you completely reframe your request so it aligns with those safety principles. And you can do this really efficiently using 3 steps. Step 1, clarify your context. Literally tell Claude why you're asking. For example, if you say you're using code for defensive cybersecurity rather than offensive hacking, you completely change the model's safety calculation. Step 2, break it down. If you've got this massive, ambiguous request touching on sensitive stuff, chop it into smaller, transparent pieces so the AI can evaluate the safety of each part. And step 3, use an alternative frame. Try presenting your request through a totally different analytical lens. Maybe ask for an objective historical summary instead of a persuasive argument on a controversial topic. Underpinning all of this is what I like to call the philosophical core of Claude's design, which is the balance between safety and utility. If you're coming into this with the weak expectation of demanding 100% blind compliance and pure utility every single time, you're gonna be disappointed. The system just wasn't built to be a blind yes machine. A strong expectation recognizes that Claude is constantly playing this tug of war between utility and long-term safety. And yes, sometimes it tips away from short-term utility. But think about it. An AI capable of doing absolutely anything blindly could cause massive damage in the wrong hands. Constitutional AI prioritizes a safe balance so it can remain a trustworthy, viable tool for the long haul. To really drive home how powerful this mindset shift is, let's look at a quick real-world field story from a security researcher. Picture this. You've got an anonymous researcher trying to document a software vulnerability, but they immediately hit a brick wall. They just asked Claude for some technical info about the vulnerability, and they were completely rejected. Now, from Claude's perspective, looking at its constitution, this has no context. It looks like a huge high-harm risk. I mean, someone asking for vulnerability details could easily be a malicious hacker trying to exploit a live system, right? But this researcher was smart. They didn't just repeat the same prompt. Instead, they used the strong approach and gave it context. They literally typed, "I am a security researcher documenting a vulnerability for defensive purposes." And guess what? By just supplying that specific defensive context on the second try, they unlocked the system immediately. It proved that the block was never about the dangerous topic itself. It was entirely about the lack of context. The second the AI understood the intent was safe and professional, it gave them all the technical data they needed.
So let's take all of these concepts and roll them up into a protocol for mastering your daily AI workflow. We call this the Common Discipline. It's a 3-step mental framework that is an absolute game changer. Whenever you hit friction with Claude, do this. Number 1, understand the refusal. Figure out which of those 3 safety categories you just bumped into. Number 2, provide context. Tell the AI who you are and precisely why you need this info. And number 3, reframe. Break the prompt down or change your lens. If you make this your daily discipline, I promise you'll turn those annoying refusals into successful, collaborative outcomes every single time. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. What good is an all-powerful tool if it cannot be trusted? Raw utility means absolutely nothing if the intelligence behind it lacks a solid foundation of trust. Understanding constitutional AI isn't just a hack to bypass errors. It's really about learning how to work alongside a deeply reliable, self-governing intelligence.
If you found this explainer valuable and it helped clear things up for you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Engaging with the content really helps us bring more of these deep dives directly to you. And definitely join us for the next episode of this explainer series, because we are going to be exploring the incredibly exciting mechanics of building agent systems. You won't want to miss it. See you then.